Alright guys, now here's the chromosome notes video that I told you had to watch for homework. So hopefully you are sitting down tonight on Tuesday and you're going to go ahead and listen to this as kind of your homework assignment. Now again, I said we weren't going to go over this entirely in class because, well, we're just kind of running out of time. So what I want you to do is, if we go through anything tonight and as you're watching this video you think anything's maybe just a little bit confusing, you're very unclear about it, I want you to stop what you're doing in the video right away and I want you to send me an email. And then I can either address the email in a response to you, or we can talk about it the next day in class. So as you're watching this, just keep in mind that you can always stop and ask me a question, okay? But first thing I want to start with is, we already went over this in class, but we're just going to kind of go back to it. Chromosomes. So we're looking at these, and these pictures, these are definitely chromosomes. What we have here is we have chromosomes that are taken with a microscope, and then we have chromosomes, a picture of chromosomes that has been taken with what we call an electron microscope. And the difference between these two is that one gives you kind of like a flat image, and that would be these guys up here, and then these guys down here kind of give you that 3D image. But the important thing that we're looking at here is, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at a human. We're looking at human DNA right here. There's 46 chromosomes found in these pictures. And so we're actually looking at what we would call, or at what we would see as our DNA. Okay, and how did we come all about to discover this DNA? Is, well, we can thank a man named Walter Sutton, who was an American geneticist, and he studied grasshopper chromosomes. And the cool thing that he discovered was that as he was looking at grasshoppers, he discovered that grasshoppers have 24 chromosomes, but they're arranged in 12 pairs. Meaning, yeah, there's 24 total, but for each one there is a pair that sits right next to it. Okay, so really there's 24 chromosomes, but each one has its own little chromosome buddy that hangs out with it, and they code for the same thing. So the eye color might be on the first chromosome, and it's going to be on the first chromosome of its pair. Okay? Every cell in the grasshopper body has 24 chromosomes except for the sex cells, and he found this to be incredibly interesting. Male sex cells only had 12 chromosomes. Female sex cells, also known as the egg, only had 12 chromosomes. And when they were joined together, they had 24, which is what he found so incredibly interesting, that this pretty much, just kind of brought out the fact that in order to have a full set of 24 chromosomes for grasshoppers, you have to combine the male sex cell and the female sex cell, each of which have 12. So grasshoppers have the exact same number of chromosomes that do the parents. Now, a big question here is, does the number of chromosomes indicate the size or the complexity of an organism? Well, put it simply, no. Because if you look at some of these numbers, you can see that a guinea pig has 64 chromosomes. Okay, not bad. And then you consider the fact that a human has 46. So something as small and to be slightly less complex, a guinea pig has less chromosomes than a human being, or even a silkworm has 56, and that's still less than the human at 46. So to put it simply, no, chromosome counts don't have anything to do with the complexity or size. So this time we are going to skip down to, I believe, right here, slide number 9. Okay, so on slide number 9, we pretty much have, if you take a look at our notes, okay, that we're going to go back and forth, we have here between what Mendel said and what Sutton says. Okay, so what Mendel says, and then we have how Sutton kind of reaffirms or confirms what Mendel originally said. So we have that genes occur in pairs. Okay, at least that's what Mendel said. All right, and Sutton then comes back and says that grasshoppers have 24 chromosomes arranged in 12 pairs. Okay, so they definitely occur in pairs. Mendel said they occur in pairs. Sutton kind of proves that. Mendel says that genes in a pair separate when sex cells are formed. And Sutton comes back and says the male and female sex cells all have 12 chromosomes. Mendel says that organisms receive inherited factors from both parents, and we know this because Sutton showed that both, in order to get a completely fertilized egg or 24 chromosomes, we had to take 12 from the female sex cell and 12 from the male. Okay, so we are going to move on to the notes. We're going to go down to slides 10 and slides 11. So what did Sutton conclude from his work and Mendel's work? And that is that chromosomes carried Mendel's heredity factors or genes from one generation to the next, and that genes are located on the chromosomes. And this is what we know as the chromosome theory. So the fact that we are actually seeing these genes that code for different traits in humans, so eye color, hair color, those genes are located on these chromosomes. According to the chromosome theory, genes are carried from parents to their offspring. Is this still a theory? Well, no, actually. We know this. We know that genes, through current scientific research, we know that genes have been found on these chromosomes. We know this for a fact. So is this still a theory? No, it's not. Okay, our next section here is, what are chromosomes? Well, chromosomes are the rod-shaped structures made of DNA and protein. Okay, mostly DNA. We're not, in fact, let's do this. Rod-shaped structures made of DNA, and we won't worry about the protein part, that are found in the nucleus of every cell. Their function is to organize DNA so that hereditary information, or genes, can be transferred properly during reproduction. So chromosomes are this structure that solely for the purpose of it houses DNA, and it organizes that DNA through winding and coiling, and it organizes it so that it is easier for our cells to transfer DNA properly during reproduction. All right. And now we're actually going to go back to slides 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, I know I jump around a little bit here, but I thought it made more sense to kind of go this way. So we just got done talking about the chromosome and the fact that the genes are on there. So here we get into chromosome pairs, or what we call homologous chromosomes. So homologous chromosomes, or we might as well change this to say like chromosomes, meaning they code for the same genes. So what we have here are homologous chromosomes, okay, homologous region that code for the same gene. So this is a chromosome, and its homologous chromosome is right here. So we have this chromosome, okay, and its homologous or like chromosome is right here, meaning that if eye color for a human is right here, then eye color for a human is right here. Now here's the interesting fact. We get this one maybe from dad, and we get this one maybe from mom, if that makes it a little easier. So you get one chromosome from dad, one chromosome from mom. Okay, the sister chromatids, now that is just an exact copy of the chromosome that is now attached to it. Okay, so what we see over here, the chromosome that we get from dad has a sister chromatid or chromatid that is attached to it. It's an exact copy. It's an exact replica. Okay. Let's see. Okay, good. Now we go on to the karyotype. Okay, so what is a karyotype? And we had talked about this a little bit last week, a karyotype is simply something for us to look at and organize the chromosomes. So usually when we see chromosomes, we take a picture and it looks a lot like this. We take a picture of the nucleus and we see a lot of this, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So in order for us to see it a little bit easier, what we do is we organize it. So we take a snapshot like that, we cut it out, and we piece it together. And we piece it together based on, how similar are the sizes? How similar are the likenesses of them? Okay, so these ones are kind of all over the place, but you can see sizes stay pretty consistent and bends in them stay pretty consistent. Okay, but these karyotypes also help us do very interesting things. Like look down here, chromosome number 21. Now, what do you notice about chromosome 21? Well, it has 3 chromosomes, which every other one has 2. So that indicates to scientists and the people that study these karyotypes that there's some sort of genetic mutation, some sort of genetic disorder that is causing them to have 3 chromosomes for the 21st. And actually, we talked about this, but having 3 chromosomes on the 21st is also something called trisomy 21, which we more commonly known as Down syndrome. Okay, so this is an easy way to look at something and see if there's some sort of genetic disorder involved in the karyotypes. Okay, moving on to 14, 15, and 16. Okay, all the way down to 14. Where are the genes from each parent located? Well, they're located on the individual chromosomes. Okay, pretty simple there. Well, they're located on the chromosomes, but they're located in very specific spots on the chromosomes. So these dashes on here represent the areas on each chromosome where a gene is. So maybe eye color could be this one, or hair color could be this one, or a hitchhiker's thumb that we talked about might be this one. Okay, so these lines, these different colors represent the different genes located on each one of our chromosomes. Okay, what is a gene? If chromosomes carry genes, then what does the gene think? What are chromosomes made of? Well, chromosomes are made of DNA, and genes are just sections of DNA found on a chromosome that provide instructions to make proteins. What are proteins? Proteins determine the traits of an organism. So if you have brown hair, you have to have specific proteins made to give brown hair. If you have blue eyes, you have to have specific proteins made to give brown or blue eyes. And it is the genes, the DNA, that codes for these specific proteins in order to do that. All right, and here's kind of the last slide. Now, I know I said that I would go over this with everybody, so I am going to go over this. And pretty much, when we look here, we know that the cell contains chromosomes, okay, and the chromosomes transfer to genes, and genes are large segments of DNA. DNA provides the instructions for proteins, and proteins build cells. So that's how this kind of thing, this whole thing kind of goes together. Once again, the cell contains chromosomes. Chromosomes kind of transfer the genes. The genes are large segments of DNA. The DNA provides instructions to make proteins, and the proteins build the cells. Okay, so hopefully you can now go ahead and take this quiz. It should help. I hope that this certainly went over it one more time for you guys just to hear it. Watch it a couple of times as it helps, but you should be good. If you have any questions, just let me know. All right.